What it is, back again with a badass fresh out of Australia, Matthew Ryder. What's cracking?
Nothing much, man. Great to be here.
Ex-Special Forces sniper turned entrepreneur. I've scaled numerous businesses to 8 figures. My name is Matt Ryder. This is my podcast, and I'm telling you to put that coffee down.
Thanks for coming, man. Hey, this guy is the chairman of Sales Sniper, which is a mercenary team of salespeople that he deploys for companies and individuals, generally in the coaching space, but you'll go outside of that. We will.
We have a few SaaS and stuff like that as well, fitness.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that. If you guys are listening to this, you own a company, you're going to like this conversation because it's going to be, I'm going to drive it all towards how do we increase our sales and revenue. Now, Sales Sniper is one of his companies. The other company is Seventh Level Communications. And both of those companies are designed to get you either to show you how to do it yourself, train you. And then if you can't or don't want to do it yourself, you got Sales Sniper to come in and do the job for them.
It's almost like it was planned that way.
Planned that way. Vertical integration.
Exactly.
It's like, folks, we'll teach you how to do it. We'll teach your team how to do it. And if they can't get the job done, we'll come in and get the job done.
So it gives us a great recruiting pool, right? We sign up hundreds of new salespeople every single month. We teach them a phenomenal skill using NEPQ, neuro-emotional persuasion questioning, right? And then from there, we have our own recruiting pool of salespeople who we know are trained in the correct way. And then all we have to do is vet them for culture and make sure that they're hard workers and good fit, and we can just stick them into a business and then run the whole operation for them.
Yeah, but your perfect avatar is a coach, speaker, some sort of expert.
So sort of, like SMEs and stuff like that. So people who
subject matter expert, for those of you that don't know what an SME is.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like people who, teach people things, right? So like Jeremy, like I was a commission-only sales guy. I was doing pretty well before I met Jeremy, and then I signed up for Jeremy's program. This is back in its infancy before it was kind of the thing that it is now. And then, ramped my income up by 4 times. So I ended up making about $100,000 a month, and that was commission only, selling somebody else's product. And then from there, I went more in depth with Jeremy.
Was it just the NEPQ that did it?
No, I was a sniper in the military. And so I kind of, I'm a big data fan, because like if you're shooting at elevation, the bullet reacts differently than if you're shooting at sea level, right? And so you have to understand the data and the interplay within different compounding factors. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was like, all right, well, like I know that I'm going to do all the follow-up. I know I'm going to get the referrals. I'm going to have a system in place to like extract as much income as I can from what the business is providing me. And I'm going to make sure that I'm not like pigeonholed on my income as to only what they can provide. So I'm going to make sure that I'm like creating like spheres that I can tap into at different stages in case some guy, shits the bed, goes hyper political on Facebook, and all of a sudden he gets shadow banned and he's got no leads, right? So I got to mitigate my risk against that. So that's what a good sales rep does anyway, like in my opinion. And then from there, when you learn the skills to be able to convert at a really high rate, that's when your income starts to go up exponentially as a sales rep.
Folks, if you want to follow him, at Real Matt Ryder, RYDER, at Real Matt Ryder, you're dropping bombs on the reg on the social media. He's also got a podcast, Coffee is for Closers.
Yeah.
Now, your partner in crime, Jeremy, has one called Closers or Losers.
That's right.
Now, why does he call closers losers?
I think it's like, like mine is a bit more satirical. The coffee is for closers and stuff like that, because it's a bit of, it's fun, and it, goes back to the old roots of sort of selling. And we just talk all things sales and business, really. Yeah. But Jeremy's thing is like, Jeremy has a very distinct methodology that he wants to impasse. And the whole mentality of being a closer, I think these days with like all these people going out on the internet and telling people that they can make a $30,000 a month income in 2 months after learning this one skill, it's not going to happen. And that's kind of what
could happen.
It could for sure. But being good at sales, as you know, is a skill set that takes a while to develop.
Yeah.
And so it's like, get away from being a closer. Because for me, the connotation of closer, like these days, is like dudes, inbound, that's it. Like Dan Locke did his whole inbound closer thing or whatever it was. And it was like, yeah, just take inbound leads and you'll be fine. And to me, that's terrifying. One, as a business owner, because like I don't want a sales guy that just does inbound stuff. Like that seems ridiculous. I want them to actually go out there and make some shit happen.
Well, can we converse about this?
Yeah.
Because inbound would be nice if the marketing department could facilitate it. Like, I don't need my salespeople doing anything if all the inbounds are good and fills up their schedule.
Yeah. So that's like, but there's always going to be a cycle, right? So you're always going to have times where the inbound lead flow is fantastic and you're busy.
In which case you wouldn't want your people not taking that traffic.
No, not at all. So you want them to take that traffic, but then they need to have these like, and that's what I do at Sales Snipers. I make sure that all of our guys do this. And this is one of the big parts of our culture is like let's make hay while the sun shines, but it's going to fucking rain pretty soon. Right. And it's feast and famine with marketing. It's very rare that you get a business that just crushes marketing all the time, because the way that Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever platforms you're using, they constantly change their algorithms, which make it harder and harder and harder. And so like, I want to make sure like when I onboard a business for Sales Sniper, I come in and we do a complete audit of all their marketing, because I need to figure out what outbound channels I've got to put in place, if I need setters, if I need to make sure that we have people monitoring emails, if I've got people doing text blasts, email blasts, whatever. And then I've got the guys who are really good at handling the actual closing part. But that's like in special operations, it's one shooter, 7 admin, right? And so I have a look at like my actual like top tier like closers or top tier sales reps. They're like the SF dudes. And then I've got this whole supporting skeleton that has to be around them in order to make sure that the business is ultimately very successful.
Damn near want to like have you come in and do it for LightSpeed.
Yeah. So like
might have to make a deal before you leave.
Yeah. Let's do it. So because it all comes down to risk mitigation, right? Because like come from military special operations background, and like, I think worst case scenario, like everything I think is worst case scenario, right? I've been through enough shitty things in my life to know that the world is not rainbows and unicorns. And so when I have a look at businesses and they're like, I do Facebook ads, I'm like, that's it? It's like, do you hate your kids? You know, it's like, that is a terrifying prospect to someone who comes in and helps people grow their businesses predominantly in the sales realm for a living. Because like, what if Mark Zuckerberg just decides to become a fucking charity, right? And then is like, oh, I'll just turn this tap off. It's like, you're fucked. You got nothing for your family, nothing for anything. Your sales guys are going to be in the shit. So you better have some like alternate methods, and you better think about this in the long term and have all these different spheres of influence. And I teach my sales guys how to fish in every single pool
and how to hunt.
Exactly. So like my staff portal is called the hunter-gatherer portal. That's what I called it. And so I make them go in there and I teach to have a whole hunting section, which is like, this is how you fucking hunt down leads. This is how you get sales. This is how you make shit happen. And this is how you gather. This is what the mechanisms need to have to make sure you gather as many as possible. So it's always a to and fro.
So that's 7th level though, because
that's Sales Sniper.
Like if LightSpeed wanted you to come show us, train us, identify all these additional revenue streams, that's 7th level?
No, that's all. So 7th level is right now in the iteration that we have at the moment is like training sales reps how to be better on a call.
So teaching them NEPQ.
Exactly, right? And
whatever they're teaching. So any company listening to this that wants to have their salespeople 4X their production.
Yeah, that's all 7th level, right? So we're teaching sales reps how to be better. Sales Sniper is much more of like a consulting and done for you wing, right? Which is predominantly run by me. Like that's sort of like my baby. That's why it's called Sales Sniper. I started it. And so that's where we go in and we do all the assessments on a more business level. And then we deploy our own sales reps that are interior to us, that are trained by us. A lot of them they're all trained using the NAPQ methodology, but it's much more of a done for you service. We come in and just do the thing. And then if you don't want us to do the thing, then what we can do is we can manage your sales reps, train them, make sure they're good to go, put in all the structures for them to be successful.
That's the important part, the structures.
Yeah, the systems and structures, like most businesses just aren't very systemized, especially in the coaching and consulting realm. Like it's kind of a cowboy industry. You know what I mean? You get these young dudes that come in, start killing the game, getting a little bit arrogant, thinking that they're pretty cool because they're making, $5 million a year. But they're not really thinking long-term, and they're setting up a business that's heavily leveraged against very, very small market segments. And so it's a scary business model for someone who thinks worst case scenario.
So if I'm listening to this, because you don't want 1 million people calling you that don't fit your T.
No.
So if I'm listening to this, who's the ideal customer you can help?
So it's basically businesses that have hit a point where like sales is essentially sales or the structures around sales like is preventing them from growth. But like they've sort of figured out some of the other sides of things in terms of like, okay, their internal communication is good. They're like they have a decent culture and like they're on a good trajectory, but they just don't know how to sort of, you know, they have a very leaky bucket. And so what we come in is we come in and fix all the bucket with structures, and then we just put really, really good salespeople in who can be very predictable. Like I know that my sales guys are predictable. And so when they come in, I can go, okay, it'll take us this much time to figure this out because every program and product is different. So we have to create custom scripts and all that kind of stuff and figure it out. But once we figure it out, it's going to be very predictable. And then because I have a constant pool of new sales reps that are being trained through 7th level, I can then scale that account internationally very quickly. So if you're like, hey, I need 3 guys in the US, I'm like, yep, sweet. And then it starts going well. And they go, hey, let's expand to the UK. Yep, sweet. Here's 3 in the UK. Here's 4 in Dubai. Here's 2 in Australia.
Do you need more sales reps? If someone's listening to this saying, I'm a badass, I want to learn, I want to be one of your snipers.
Yeah, man, you can go to salessniper.net and there's a whole application form there. If you're a business owner, go to crushsales.net and that just takes you straight to the application form for that. We usually have about 50 to 60 in the wings at all time, and we run a boot camp, and my goal in the boot camp is to break everybody so they all quit. Is
it broken down like the military?
Yeah.
Because you were in the military?
Yeah, so I like to fuck people up in the beginning because if they stay, then they're here for the right reasons. Right. And so it's the same way with like SF selection, right? My selection was 6 weeks or whatever it was. And the whole thing is just let's break you and figure out how you react under pressure. So I'll give you like somewhat ridiculous targets and you have to meet them. And there's no excuse for not meeting them. So if I give you, hey, you have to do $400 a day, go do $400 a day. You hit $399, you're fired.
What happens when someone says, I don't want to do this shit?
And it's fine.
You get a lot of people quitting?
We have a pretty good culture. So like in the sphere that we work in coaching and consulting, like we have a good name. So people come to us, but yeah, in that boot camp, you know, maybe 10, 15% get through.
So if a company wants you to come do their sales for them, will you just take over the sales for the company and the marketing?
So we can, depending on the sphere and what they have in terms of marketing asset, then we can take over elements of the marketing. It really depend. That'd be much more case by case. The sales systems, the sales structures, the sales management, we just take that over holus bolus. So like someone's like, you know, they like, 'cause a lot of people are really good at what they do, but they just don't know sales. And so like they can get all this data and they're just looking at a bunch of fucking numbers on a piece of paper, just going like, what's happening? Like, I don't know what any of these mean. And so like you can break down a sales process and you can add friction points. You can take away friction points. There's all these things that you can do to get yourself like a much better idea as to like what client journey you have to take them through to maximize revenue.
Where'd you learn all this shit?
I had to do it because like 3 years ago, I was broke as a fucking joke. Like broke. Like not like people pretending to be broke. I mean like fucking broke. So I had all these gyms and I was working with some business partners and it just didn't go well. I've been in there like just flogging the guts out of it for years. And I was like the guy who ran all the sales and I just got sick of it and walked away. So I completely walked away, and because I was like business owner mode, I was throwing all the money back into the business. I was only taking like an 80K a year salary, which is Australian. And in Sydney, that's not enough to live. It's like living in Manhattan, right? So when I left, I had nothing. Like me and my wife, she was pregnant with our daughter, who's now 3. And I had to borrow the money for like the Down syndrome test, right? It's $400. I had to borrow it from my father-in-law. And so I was like, fuck. So what I knew I could do is I could sell fitness. So I started cold calling gyms and I was like, hey, I'll be your sales guy. Like that. Took them through a sales. I was like, I'll do commission only. Let's do it. So I started selling like $97 programs, $197, $500 fitness programs for like just gyms all over Australia. And then I realized like, man, I can only sell for like 3 gyms in Australia at once because the time zone. And I was like, fuck it, I'll work 20 hours a day. So then I started cold calling US gyms. And I was like, sweet, man, now I've got like a good chunk of time, you know, because the time zone's different. So then I called UK gyms. So at one point I was selling for like 2 UK gyms, 2 US gyms, and 2 Australian gyms. And it was just me. So I was working from like 4 a.m. to like 11 p.m. every day on the phones, like selling for these gyms. And then that started to expand, right? All the marketing companies were like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just doing sales. So then they started throwing gyms at me, like throwing. And I had like 50 inquiries. And mind you, I'm only getting paid like $20 a sale. right?
How are you doing it?
What do you mean?
How come you could do it and none of their salespeople could do it?
Well, like I just, because I'd ran the sales for all these gyms, like I was like part owner in like 18 different gyms. So for 10 years, I just sold fitness programs.
But were they giving you the leads?
Yeah, they were giving me the leads, and then they'd give me all their old lead lists as well. And then I would
like fish bowls?
Yeah, I would just call the shit out of everybody. So I had auto dialers.
But the leads, were they coming from like fish bowls? How were they getting the leads?
Oh, no, they coming from everywhere. Like they were coming from Facebook, Instagram, like, you know, pick a card type stuff, like everything you could imagine. They just put it onto a Google sheet every day. And then I would just call the leads, and I had like 10 international numbers, right? I was just calling them back and forth. So then that started to go well. And then I started to be like, man, I think I can make a business out of this. So I called some friends and guys that I'd worked with, and I was like, hey, come work with me. And then that's how I found Marco, the Italian stallion that you met out there, and James, who I think you've met. And then so like we started building gyms, and I was like, man, I can't just rely on these guys' ability to get me 50 leads a week or whatever it is. So then I started like developing all the systems and structures and teaching them, because I'd run gyms, how to go out and do these things. It's like, okay, we're going to do a challenge that's going to get an upswell in leads here. I'm going to get all the referrals here. And then I would like coordinate all the gyms' marketing campaigns with them, so I could figure out when all the upticks were going to be, so I could time it right. So I didn't have to, so I could be more efficient in my time. And then I started doing that for the marketing companies. They asked me to sell for them. So the marketing company was like, hey, why don't you come sell for me? At this point, I'd developed a couple of sales guys, and they were doing the sales for the gym. So then I started doing that. And then again, I was like, okay, I need to protect my time, but I want to make money. So then I started working with them on like, okay, what are all the things? And then like, I've just been in the back end of so many businesses now that like, I've seen so many sales processes, and I've seen the ones that work and the ones that don't, but I know the fundamentals of what has to be there. And most people don't. And it's just because...
What are those fundamentals?
The fundamentals are like, first of all, you have to have data. But like data for data's sake is fucking ridiculous, right? So like, I want to know like, when is the handover from marketing? So like, there's this gray area that everyone gets really confused about. Like, whose responsibility is this, right? And so...
But marketing's responsibility is to generate leads.
Yeah, but there's like a handover period, right? Of where like, when do they enter the sales process? When are they considered a lead? And then when do they enter the sale process, right? And like your marketing and your sales, they need to be opposite. So if you have, like I'll say like a qualification funnel, right? So if your marketing is designed to push everybody through, then your sales has to push everybody out, right? Otherwise, you end up with an extraordinarily high volume of like very frustrated salespeople who are talking to underqualified leads on a way too regular basis.
That's what I got right now.
That it's a frustrating thing.
That's what 90% of businesses have right now.
Yeah. So if you have that, then you have to create a disqualification sales process, right? Otherwise, you'll churn through sales reps like crazy, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I got to go, okay, like what? So then I have to add friction points, right? So people try and go, what's the easiest way to get them through? How do we get? It's like, no. Like if you're like your problem is not reach, right? You have shitloads of people that watch everything. So like, I know I can get people to buy into Brad Lee. I got to fuck them off along the way, right? But still keep them in good stead and still have them hold the business in high regard so I can use them later, right? But they're not right now. So I got to kick them out. So then I got to add friction points to the sales process that like has unemotional points that I can boot them out based off very, very clear metrics.
Give me one example.
Okay, so let's just say we do so like a multi-stage call, right? So I might have a 3-call close. We'll just call it that, or a 2-call close. That first call, there has to be very, very clear and defined metrics from you, the business owner, as to what the ideal avatar and who we're trying to get through this program, right? So I have to then boot them out at that stage if they don't hit that.
What if the avatar's too general?
Then it makes it difficult. Then we have to hear a clearer conversation about the offer, because if you talk to everyone, no one fucking listens, right? Like no one cares, you know? So you have to have some sort of niche. And like, as a business owner, in my opinion, and you
better say that one again.
I don't even remember what I said.
You said when you talk to everyone, nobody listens.
Yeah, when you talk to everyone, nobody listens.
In other words, your message is bland. No one's listening because it's not specific enough. It's not solving specific pain points.
Exactly. And so like, what's the point of doing it, right? And if you're in business just to try and ram people through and sell some shitty stuff, that's not my game.
It's also
right?
not long term.
Exactly. And
so I don't want to get away from this until I get this answer. So the scrubbing mechanisms. You might have one call that says, okay, who are you? And if you're not the right person, see ya.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if they're the right person, they move along to the next step.
Then yeah, exactly. Like to the next step. And you might and then from there you'll go like, okay, like where do they go? Right. I might have high tier products and low tier products. Right. And then I want to make sure there's a clear delineation between where I send them and why. And that person who's doing that has to be empowered with that knowledge. And it's very, very clear. And then from there, I'd send them to, and that gives me a lot of data because I'm like, hey, man, then I can talk to the marketing team and I go, hey, bro, I've got a 47% disqualification rate on the first call. And then I've got, from those people, I've got 72% going high ticket and I've got the rest going low ticket. Right. Then from there, I've got my high ticket guys. I've got my low ticket guys. My low ticket guys, the reason why it's great to have a low ticket offer is because I can have salespeople in training. So now I've got a training pool, which is like much lower risk for the business. Right. And then I've got it's lower risk for the salesperson so they don't end up getting in their own head and freaking out about selling something expensive straight away when they're new.
Yeah. What's a high ticket in your mind?
The most expensive products that we sell are around $700,000.
That's a high ticket.
Right. Yeah.
That's not a normal high ticket. What's a normal high ticket?
30.
30?
Yeah. Anything above
so
10.
$7,000, $6,000, $12,000. These programs you see, a lot of these guys have $12,000 programs. That's a low ticket.
It's not low ticket. It's sort of like a medium point. The only reason why you would sell a $6,000 to $12,000 program is because you're trying to find the pricing for your entry offer, and that's sort of in my opinion. So if you're gonna be in the high ticket space, you're better off having like a 6 and a 30. Right. So you have a very clear delineation, but then I want to get the 6 and I want to get the 30.
So like LightSpeed, if you're coming on board, we have 3 packages. And by the way, those are services. The software itself, you can just use yourself.
Yep.
Most people won't know how. They don't have all the years of knowledge. It'll take them 2 years to get where I can get them in 2 weeks.
Yep.
If they listen.
Yep.
So the software explaining that, oh, it's nothing. And then now where's the money come in? 30, 60, 90. And it's basically just consulting and production.
Yep.
Doing a little of the work, private label, shit like that.
Yep.
But are those mid-ticket, low ticket? What are those? 30, 60, 90.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are definitely high ticket programs. Right. But I would want to create an Ascension model that got the most revenue out of everybody. So I don't want to sell just the 30, just the 60, just the 90. I want to sell them the 30, the 60, the 90. Now, if that's now if the 90 is a package that includes the 30 and the 60, it's a bit of a different story.
I almost want to end the podcast, go into my boardroom, strike a deal, and start mapping out a plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can do that
because it sounds like you know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, it's like the Ascension models, I mean, this is a bit of fourth wall stuff, but when so I'm the business guy behind Seventh Level, right? Jeremy's the genius of sales, but I'm a business dude, right? My dad was a VC. He taught me stuff, right? And so I look at things in a little bit different ways, and I like to create in very, very intentional Ascension models and product ladders. So at Seventh Level, we have stuff from, and because Sales Sniper sort of runs the sales for Seventh Level, right?
Hey, do you know if Jeremy was in the military as a major, he'd be major minor?
That's a terrible joke. I mean, I like it, but it's terrible. So you create these Ascension models, and so I'll go okay, what is if I have a coaching program, and I want to get there's no point just getting someone in the 6 or just in the 30. Get them in the 6 and the 30. Get them into both, and create a model that easily pushes them through. And so then, I can figure out from a marketing standpoint, is it easier to market towards my 30 or my 6? Now, most of the time it's going to be easier to market towards your 6, right? So for us, a lot of the stuff that we do at Seventh Level goes towards our NEPQ 2.0 program, which is our anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000. Right now, we can sell a metric
for an individual or a business.
That's for an individual, right?
And that's to quadruple their sales.
Yeah, and that's run on LightSpeed.
Yeah,
right?
but that's learning NEPQ.
Exactly. It's the basics of NEPQ.
Every salesperson listening should think about and consider that, because what I tell people all the time when they're asking me about success is you have to learn to sell, period.
Yeah. Just go to salesrevolution.group and I'm sure we'll have a chat.
Yeah, and I don't care what business you're in. If you're an entrepreneur listening, you better learn how to sell. You got to sell your dream. You got to sell your employees. You got to sell everybody on everything.
Exactly.
You got to learn to sell no matter who you are.
Exactly.
Everybody should go learn to sell.
It was the skill. I remember Jeremy, once he'd figured out that I'd kind of figured it out, he was like, congratulations, you never have to worry about money ever again. And I was like,
and it's all acting confused.
Yeah. It's the confused old man strategy.
Yeah.
Trust me, it works very, very well.
let me ask you this. If I were to help you, it would be worth a lot.
It would. Tell me more. And then I'm going to lean in and be like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Then I got to get to the pricing. Like, here's what it costs.
Yeah. I do price different than most people.
I might just, again, have you guys come in here and take over LightSpeed.
Man, I'm all for it.
Well, dude, I'm not even joking.
I'm not joking either.
Like I need some, because we've never marketed, believe it or not.
Yeah, right.
Like here and there bullshit stuff, but not real marketing.
Not like
this year I'm going to do real marketing.
Okay.
I need real systems. I need real closers. I need real freaking shit. Because, dude, this company literally could be at least 10 times bigger than it is. I mean, you've seen the system. It's badass.
I mean, we paid you a shitload of money
Nobody
to do it.
Nobody knows that it's badass. People that have it don't even use it right. It's like having a freaking Ferrari.
Okay, so what's the...
I never watched. Listen to this. It made me like me selling you a Ferrari and then coming by your house and you're sitting in it listening to the stereo. And I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, fucking...
How to drive it, yeah.
No, I'm like listening to the radio, waiting on the bus.
Yeah,
and I'd be like...
No one drives it correctly.
No one knows how to drive it correctly. And it's to me, it's common sense, but I've been doing it 20 years. I got to remind myself it's not common sense.
Yeah. Well, to me, the sales system stuff is common sense, but it all comes from a fact of like, I like not sleeping in the rain and eating food. Yeah. Right. And so like, you
want to sleep food and eat rain?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like, it's like never trust a marketer that's never spent their own money on marketing.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like never trust a sales guy that like won't back themselves to come into an account and make it work.
Commission only.
Commission only, baby. That's the way to go.
Dude, commission only is number one, how you get more commission.
Exactly.
Number two, it's also how you weed out the weak salespeople.
Yeah, exactly. So, like we get like a lot of inquiries. We can't take most of them just from like a pure like logistical standpoint. If someone could wave a magic wand and give me, 400 or 500 more sales reps that are just like my guys, then, it'd be fantastic, but that's just not going to happen. And nor do I really want it to, because that would dilute a lot of stuff very, very quickly. But over the past 2 years, we've grown from like 4 guys to 100. We kept a really, really good culture all around like the sniper mentality. Right. So
would you say you cultivated them?
Oh yeah. It's been everything that like, it's funny. I think it was Elon Musk that said like, the more successful I am, the luckier I seem to get, or something like that. Right. Or vice versa. But we've sort of really held true to like some very, very particular core principles. And it's like, I will not allow anyone, no one in the organization is worth more than anybody else. I'm a big believer in that. And then I have a lot of transparent communications in special operations. One of the reasons why I left was poor leadership. And it's not that those guys aren't fucking good at killing people and all that kind of stuff, and they're good soldiers, but like you have to, if you can understand someone's thought process, then like their decisions make more sense to you. And so like for me as like the leader of a company and all that kind of stuff, is like I will tell them my thought process as to why I'm making certain decisions. And so I have a meeting every 2 weeks. Everyone comes, all the setters, everyone, brand new people. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing in the business. This is why I'm doing it. This is my thought process behind it. And it might affect some of you negatively, but I promise it's to have an eventual better outcome for you. Because I'm a salesperson first guy. Like I come up as a sales dude. I don't believe commission-only sales reps should be asked to do anything that isn't selling, right? They can make their own shit and they should be very, very proactive. But like I would never ask commission-only sales guy to teach people for free. That's a bullshit thing that lazy business owners do.
Do they do
yeah,
that?
especially in the coaching realm. Like a lot of people watching this are probably in the coaching and consulting realm, and they'll have commission-only sales reps and they'll go, oh, hey, train all the new guys. It's like, yeah, for what rate? If I'm getting paid $1,000 a sale and I make 12 sales a week, right? Like
I take you for a week, I should pay you 12 grand average.
Exactly. So, but people don't really think like that because they think, well, I'm paying you 40 grand a month. It's like, yeah, man, but in order to do that, I'm making you a lot of money.
Well, dude, you're preaching to the choir. I'm a sales guy from day one.
Yeah.
Well, day two. I had to learn the hard way. But
I was lucky I had Jeremy.
But to me, it's like you're not paying them, prick. They're making you.
Exactly.
Like when I'm a sales guy and they're like, dude, I paid you 30 grand. Fuck you. I made you $170.
Yeah, exactly. It's like commission-only sales reps are essentially free. Like you definitely have to, I think people price wrong and like they don't pay the commission structures correctly. Like I'm not just a sales guy. Like I would struggle to pay like 20% like for just a sales guy. unless that sales guy is going to provide something, a level of insight into the business. Like for me, I charge a fair bit, right? Like when I when I come into the Sales Sniper, I provide an infrastructure. And we do all the automations. We basically take care of everything. So I'm more expensive than a sales guy. There's no doubt about it. However, the level of infrastructure and scale that I can provide is unparalleled, right? Like I had one account, we had 22 sales reps on there. I onboarded them in like a day. I was like, oh, this is growing quickly. Sweet as, good to go. One of our guys, like, we sell an offer and we have a 25 times return of ad spend. They also have an internal team. Their internal team has a 6 times return of ad spend. And it's just because I changed the way in how the sales come into the pipeline. And then I maximize the way that the sales, I maximize the pipeline for both short and long term. And so all we have to do is have a look at that data, and I can see where all the sales are coming in, and I can see what channels they're coming in from. And then I can see the cheapest channels, the most expensive channels, and then I can change the process depending on where the lead's coming from. And they let me do that, but their internal team doesn't do that. Obviously, they're just getting sales. And so my team outperforms them, 4-1. And it's just the sales guys are.
Did they ever call you and say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and the sales guys are better, but I'm very clear. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Like I'm constantly changing where leads are coming from, where they're going. We're having a look at all the data, and then we base that off all the data for the other clients that we have, and we go, what is optimal for this? Like from person to go from here to here, what's the optimal percentage that we should be aiming for? As soon as we get to that, we stop worrying about it. And then we go on to the next one, and we optimal, sweet, next one, optimal, sweet, next one, optimal, and then we go back to the top because that's probably changed. So we're always trying to fix all the weakest links in the chain, always. And it comes down to, because I want my sales guys to make a shitload of money. If they make a shitload of money, I make a shitload of money. We're a commission-only agency. Right?
What do you think's more important, sales or marketing?
Well, it's like if you have really good marketing, you can have weaker sales.
Right.
If you have incredibly good sales, you can have weaker marketing.
But what do you think's more important?
Marketing.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Everybody listening. I did that on purpose because there's a lot of people out there that all they want to do is figure out how to sell more, when in reality what they need to figure out is how to market better.
Yeah.
Because you'll sell more if you market better.
For sure. If you have more eyeballs on you, then
or opportunities.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I've got an average sales guy calling 100 leads, closing 20 of them versus a killer sales guy calling 5 leads.
Yeah.
But I think you're never gonna out kick the average guy's ass because they're out marketing you.
Yeah, but the marketing, it's funny, the sales industry still has a level of accountability that the marketing industry doesn't have anymore.
Well, do you do both?
We just bought a marketing company, so we can do both. We're raising the capability, but I'm trying to keep it relatively niched in what we do because I'm not going to do anything that we're not the best at. And so we're rolling out test pilots for both an operational build out and also a media build out. So that we can keep internal communication structures and stuff like that really possible. Let's say
one of hundreds of my subject matter expert clients are listening, and they're like, "Dude, I'm interested in having a SWAT team call leads and close my deals for me." Because a lot of these guys, believe it or not, and girls, they're smaller teamed people, if at all. I know people that are making $1.5 million, $2 million a year, traveling around teaching what they teach. But there are no employees. They might have an assistant. Yeah. They're like one-man bands.
Very, very leaky buckets.
And I've asked them before because they're on virtual training, my system. And I'm like, they're doing all right. But I'm like, dude, I thought these guys would do $1 million a month.
Easy.
They're doing, 30,000. And I'm like, how are they only doing 30,000? They must not be calling businesses. They must not be, presenting it correctly. It's weird. It's almost like, dude, you make $2 million in person, but you can't make $1 million a month online. Scaling it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, especially when those people have got an audience sitting there. They just haven't thought of all the catchment systems that you need to put into place to utilize all the leads.
They're one-man bands, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why and the agency space, I think, has kind of a bad rap.
They do. Because everybody claims, I'll get you 1 million leads. And a lot of these individuals, they're like, well, what am I going to do with them? Because now they're calling them and they're not salespeople. They're subject matter experts or unless they're subject matter experts on sales. But still, you can't fill up their day all day because that's the person supposed to be out doing all the
It's also
shit.
draining, and then it becomes a technician sale, which is completely unscalable.
So if I called you right now
Yeah.
and I was in that situation, you just assign 5 agents or 5 snipers.
Yeah, so I do an audit of the business first and foremost.
If I qualify.
Yeah, if you qualify, yeah. So what we do is we'd have a look at like all the things that are required to get to like the level in which you want to get to. Let's say you wanted to get to $1 million a month. I go, okay, cool. Well, given your current structure, there has to be a runway for this, right? And I go, but it's not going to happen without this and this. And so like if it was a marketing function that I think that we could perform well for that niche, then I would go, hey, listen, it's going to be X amount per month. This is what we expect. This is the runway that we need. And then we would take over that marketing function and also the full sales function. So we usually have a sales manager.
Well, I just think that solves everybody's problem. That's vertical integration.
Yeah, especially in like the realm that we generally deal in, which is a lot of coaching and consultants and also some SaaS companies as well.
So after you kind of were broke and you're like, screw this, and you started doing the gym business, eventually you ran into Jeremy.
Yeah, so I'd gotten into like the high ticket selling space, and I was relatively successful. Like the first week, it was really funny. So this business coach, he put up a ad online. He's like, hey, I'm looking for closers or whatever. It's $2,000 a sale. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, 2,000. I was getting like 22, right? I was like, all right, well, I'm going to give this a crack. So I hunted this guy down, did the interview, and he blanked me. Totally blanked me. And I was like, fuck this. So I like just relentlessly messaged this dude, just relentlessly. And then I said, hey man, I know you're not getting back to me. Just answer me one question. How much does it cost you to get how much does it cost you to get a person to a sales call? He said $400. I said, I'll pay you $400 for everyone I don't sell. Right? And he was like, well, that's a big boy move. I was like,
strong.
I was like, legit, everyone I don't sell, I'll pay you $400. So I made 6 sales in the first week, made $12,000 commission. 6 of 8, and I paid him the $800, right? And then I called Jimmy, who's like my manager and sort of business partner.
Yeah, but how did you know that you could close those? Just confidence, or did you know his program? Did you know his brand?
I knew nothing about the program, nothing about the brand, nothing about the industry. Sometimes you just got to back yourself, buddy. You just got to jump off.
Yeah.
Right? Like what was I going to do?
That's right.
So I just backed myself. I was like, fuck it. Like I'll figure it out. I back myself to do the best that I can do. And that's all I can do, right? So I made 12 grand in the first week, and I called Jimmy and I was like, hey, dude, we don't fuck the fitness. We do this now. And then I went hard in the paint on that. And then I was doing really, really well. I was consistently making, 7 to 12 grand a week doing that. Then I met Jeremy, and that went up to about $25,000 a week worth of comms. And then I completely broke the delivery mechanism of that business. And that was the first time that the business basically had to stop marketing, stop sales, because they could not keep up with the volume of people that I was selling.
That's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have, unless you're the sales guy.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Right? So then we'd been doing that in Sniper a fair bit. We've been sort of breaking delivery mechanisms. Like one of our accounts, we came in the first month, we onboarded $110,000, $15,000 sales, right? The first month. And then it's been kind of ramping up from there. And so I went out and bought, there's a genius guy named Spencer Burnett. He's fucking genius. And he's an expert at like automating the delivery mechanisms and like internal communication structures of a business that like you don't require as many people to do the same thing. So I bought his company.
For how much?
An undisclosed amount.
Did you save all your dough? Are you a saver?
No.
Did you make him a deal to buy it?
Yeah. So I made him a deal. So he now works for us.
So you enveloped his company.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, a long time ago, I enveloped Jason's company.
Yeah.
21 years ago.
Yeah.
You know Jason.
Yeah. I know Jason. He's a good guy.
So you were a sniper with the Australian
Special operations. Yeah.
Military.
It's a unit called 2 Commander Regiment. So similar to MARSOC.
Did you have to shoot people?
Yeah.
Have you shot people?
I have shot people. Yes.
How does that feel?
How sociopathic do you want me to be on this podcast?
Straight up real.
It didn't bother me at all.
Were they bad people?
Yeah. No, they needed to die.
But did you ever like have someone in your scope that was like, you see in Afghanistan and Iraq, like little kids with bombs on them walking towards the troops?
That's much more an Iraq thing. So I didn't do Iraq. I did all my stuff in Afghanistan.
So everybody you put the crosshairs on was straight up bad guy.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Was it like real life Call of Duty?
There's some there's some. I mean, we can get into war stories if you want. There are some stuff that I've done where it was very much Call of Duty. Like it was like this is happening and this is weird, right? A lot of it is very boring. Like someone described war as 99% boredom, 1% uncontrollable chaos, and that's pretty accurate.
Well, and not only that, I mean, snipers, they get in hiding spots.
Yeah, so I was in recon before I was in snipers. So I did get to bang it in with the boys. I did get to kick doors in and do all that kind of stuff, which was fun.
Would you go back and do it again?
No, I got kids, man.
But it was fun, wasn't it?
It was, but like, I would be such a pussy these days out there because I've got things to lose.
Did you
I
ever?
had nothing to lose back then, man. I was just like, fuck this, YOLO, kick doors in, shoot people, have fun. Like, fucking great time.
Did you ever get shot at?
Oh, yeah.
Like close call?
Yeah. I've had like things shot off me. Yeah. I was in a really bad, like we got ambushed in 2008. We had a few people die. And I was like providing fire support from like a mountain, like not far away. It was probably like 600 meters away from like where the main ambush was happening. So we were kind of providing fire support for them. And then they had a group of Chechen snipers that came in and found us. So they'd flanked us. And then me and my friend, I won't say his name because he's still in, me and my friend, we ended up getting stuck behind a rock for like maybe 6 hours, maybe 7 hours. Just getting shot at by Chechen snipers and then getting mortared for like 6 hours. But we were on this like sort of very, very small mountain and we couldn't get off the back end of it because every time we tried to run off the back end of it to go to cover, like we just got fucked up, got strafed and all that kind of shit. And we had a Barrett sitting out the front that we couldn't get to. So we didn't have any weapons except for like pistols. So we sat there, we just took our body armor off, put it in front of us and just hid behind a rock until it went dark and then we could go get our shit and go home.
Damn.
So, yeah, so that was that was one thing. But like a lot of stuff we did was cool. Like I did some stuff in Indonesia that was really cool. Doing like special recovery operations and stuff like that. Like it was a good time. I got to do some cool shit. The more important thing is I got to meet some great people, and I got like a very good work ethic, I think, from it. And the knowledge that like if you want to do something well, just learn from the person who does it better than you. So like, do
you ever look for military transitioning out?
Yeah. So like a lot of our hierarchy are ex-special operations. It's just like we're a very same type of person. So like I know what you're thinking, and like we have the same work ethic.
Work ethic's key in sales.
Yeah,
a lot of times people get too much rejection. They come up with a million reasons why they shouldn't make that next call. These leads suck. Yeah, if your mind's not right, sales can be a little bit more challenging.
It's a funny thing. I never found sales as like rejecting because like, I mean, like I just didn't care what they thought of me. So like if I don't know someone and I don't have any experience with them, like why would I consider it rejection if they don't want to buy something? Like who gives a shit? Just move on to the next person. It's fine.
You get paid either way.
Well, no, on your commission only.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, I mean, yeah, because you're gonna get them right eventually.
Nope.
What's that?
I tell people, look, let's say you have 10 customers or 10 prospects.
Yeah.
You call all 10, you only sell one, you make $2,000.
Yeah.
If you take that $2,000 divided by those 10,
you made $200 a prospect.
You made $200 a head. Whether they said yes or no, it didn't matter.
That's exactly right. And I think like that detachment from the sale.
That's the trick. I teach people to detach.
That is the trick.
Dude, I'm getting $200 whether you say yes or no. So it kind of relieves the pressure because newer salespeople, they feel this pressure and they come across sounding
desperate.
That's the perfect
do you know what really fucks people up? And this is one thing that I try and teach my young sales guy all the time. I go, like, you have to know your data. This is why it's so important. Because if you're a 20% closer, like you close 1 out of 5, why the fuck would you be angry if you close 1 out of 5? You should get 4 no's. You get the 1 yes, everyone should high five. The problem becomes when you're a 20% guy who thinks you're a 50% guy.
Or you only get 5 people to talk to every 3 months.
That's a problem.
And you're a 20% guy.
Exactly, right? So you just can't get in that rhythm and flow. But like, so for me, I knew like I had a really good close rate for people who went all the way through to the end process, which is the sales call, is around 80%.
Yeah, but it sounds like because you set up an intelligent, lead verification funnel.
Yeah. So and it's funny, like, and that funnel will change depending on the volume. So, I was talking about if you are pushing everyone through, then you got to push everyone out. It's the same thing. Like in marketing,
unless you're targeting beautifully, then
yeah,
they're all good.
Which would technically be pushing everyone out, right? So then like you're going to either push them out in marketing and push them through in sales. So if you come to me and go, hey man, we're going to have hard qualifications on these funnels, you won't speak to anybody that's not this. And go, sweet, I'll set up a sales cycle that just punches everyone through, right? Like punches them. But that, it's going to change because like there might be months where like we sit down and we go, hey guys, lead volume is super low. Let's remove some of these friction points, right? So that we can just maximize opportunity. And that's where I go to the business owner and I go, hey man, this is what we're doing.
Why don't you just do that from the get-go?
Because I don't want to destroy salespeople. Right. Like, and so salespeople are
but
not.
Don't you think it would be the price? It would, like anytime I look at a business and they want to sell more, first thing, well, what's your product? Who's your target? All the things you're looking at, and let's think they all seem to make sense, but that's happening. Like to me, it's like, well, the price has to be too high, or you start eliminating. Like it's most times the salesperson, but I've seen a lot of businesses where it's the process, meaning the salespeople are fine. They're not generating enough leads, or, there's always some area that's not necessarily evident.
Yes, that's why you've got to have a goal. And so you've got to sit down with the marketing department and go, hey man, are we pushing people through or are we knocking people out? Right.
So explain pushing people through.
So it's like, okay, so we're on Bradley's podcast and let's just say you decide to go real broad with your targeting and you just push everyone through to like a landing page, but there's no real messaging behind it. It's just very, very broad.
So I say anybody that wants to sell more, go to crushsales.net.
Exactly.
Now you got everybody. Is that pushing them through?
Yes. Right. Because it's just broad. Now, if you're a coaching consultant that's making over $100,000 a month who is frustrated by not being able to maximize your sales process, go to crushsales.net.
Now,
right. That's a messaging.
I know, but is that pushing people through? Just less people?
So you're still pushing people in, but you're pushing a very particular demographic through.
Yeah, but that would increase your closing rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if I'm doing that and I'm making sure that I'm only getting I'm being very careful with my messaging and my marketing to only get a very specific segment of people into this sales process, my sales will be relatively frictionless and I'll try and get them all through because I know that they're the right people. Now it's just about selling as many as possible. But if we're just throwing every Tom, Dick, and Harry into a sales process, I have to push some of them out. Otherwise, I will end up with like 40 extraordinarily unsuccessful salespeople when I could have 5 really successful ones.
Yeah. Well, just get rid of the Dick and just process Tom and Harry.
Exactly. Right. And so but that can change. And so like there's one month where, hey guys, I don't know what happened, but our Facebook ad accounts got blocked. So therefore we have no Facebook and Instagram. So we're going to have a third of the normal volume. Fucking sweet. I'm taking out a few of those things because now I just need more opportunity, but because there's lower volume. Yeah. So I want to maintain the same number of sales, but then our close rates are going to drop dramatically, but we're going to have an increased workload. Right. So that's where I have to go to you as the business owner and go, hey man, our close rates are going to drop. Don't worry. It's intentional. It's designed to do this. And then you go, oh, sweet. So then you don't look at the stats, go, holy fuck, our close rates are down by half. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, let's not freak out about it. This is all an intentional decision-making process. Well, and then as soon as it starts to go back up, then we can start to increase some of those friction points again. Or if the process worked really well, let's try and keep it, but add more people. So it's always a fine line between like the resources of people, how fast you want to grow. Also, how fast can you grow? Like you have a SaaS product, right? So like you guys can grow really quickly. A lot of like service providers that have to provide a service to a person by a person, they can't grow that quick because you just fuck everything up. Like the delivery mechanisms will break,
Well, we can only do so many services here.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's right. You could break LightSpeed. Like it's
for sure. I'd love to.
The main reason I haven't marketed mainly is because, believe it or not, it took me a long time to put in the processes. And then once I saw the processes, it's like, dude, it's not a scalable solution. Services. Someone has to run those cameras. Someone has to edit that content. Yeah. You have to have editors for that. You have to have studio space for that. You have to have other things. So unfortunately, there's an aspect of our business that's not as scalable as the software part.
Yeah.
So I've thought about like breaking them apart even. Yeah. But then this wouldn't be high ticket. The only thing I can do high ticket at LightSpeed that I know of. That's why I asked you. You help them think it up, because if you think something up brilliant, I mean, dude, LightSpeed's badass.
Yeah,
it's the
there's
service.
a definite Ascension model in there that doesn't have to be like overly. It's service driven, but not like over. You could like tear it apart so there's an element of service, but then also an element of like more productized services, right? Like productized services are great because it gives the. I don't want to be like a douchey internet marketer and say like the illusion, but it gives kind of like the illusion of service, but it's a product.
Well, yeah, but like to me, a product would have to be like, hey, here's our course on setting up your funnel.
Yeah.
You know, it makes all these other trainers $1 million a month. It's $50,000 and we'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
Or something. And we could do through the actual training system. So you just make it once in a studio. Yeah. But to me right now, our services are not that. Our services, we will manually consult you from private labels all the way to marketing. And people unfortunately have to do it to where I only have so many editors. Now I've scaled out, so my capacity and the resources are there.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to market, but I can't market like too crazy, or
you've got to have heavy disqualification funnels, right? So you've got to have parts in the process where you kick people out, but then you want to monetize the people who you kick out in some way, right? So it's like, what do you do? So what I like to do is create a bucket, like a Facebook group or something like that, where like, hey, even the people that go through, they go there, and the people that don't, they go. Like we have, like at 7th level, we have salesrevolution.net. We throw a lot of free content in there, right? And we're just constantly cultivating an audience that loves us. Right?
Is that a Facebook group?
Yeah. salesrevolution.group. And so like we're cultivating, that's a big bucket for us that we can fish leads out of, right? But like the important thing is like that's a bucket that provides tremendous value for salespeople. You know what I mean? So like even if they don't ever buy anything from us, they'll get better at sales for free. You know, which is great. But the idea is like, you know, eventually they see us, they like us, they understand what we're doing. Yeah. And so we have funnels out there, you know, trying to get people in. And this is for all the businesses that I work with at Sales Sniper. It's like we have funnels, but I want to be like, how do we monetize every single bit? Or how do we give our salespeople an opportunity to create these like pools, I call them, where they can start fishing? You know, and so it's like, well, instead of just kicking people out and putting them on an email list, like let's actually bring them somewhere we can cultivate an audience that loves us. You know, by giving them shitloads of value. Now that's a lot of work. Like it's a lot of work for the salespeople, but it's also a lot of work for the people who are driving the business. And that's like with you, like you could do it quite easily because you can repurpose all the content you're doing anyway, which is why things like podcasts are amazing for business owners. Every single business that I come and sell them, and I was like, you should have a podcast. One, because like you can have a long form conversation like this and extract lots of really cool shit from it. But two, you can then use that. And you can then vertical content, that's your TikTok, your Instagram, Reels, and your YouTube Shorts. And then you can have your horizontal content. You can have the back and forth. You can pull it out in snippets. You can then run it as an ad to your podcast. You can run it as an ad to your channel. You can run it as an ad to your Facebook group. And so now you're creating all these like channels and spheres of influence that you can have setters in there. You can have salespeople in there, and they're like, hey, you're going to get 50 inbound leads a week. And you are in control of Instagram. Yeah. So it's like that is your pool to fish in.
What do you do? Give them passwords to your Instagram?
We use things like LastPass and stuff like that. Yeah.
What about like when someone's making comments on Facebook, should salespeople be in those comment sections?
I think so. It has to be very intentional. There has to be a very clear outcome of what you want from that. Right. So it's like
sales.
But like if you're sending everyone, you don't want to send everyone straight to a sales channel.
Well, you don't send them. I'm talking about like, use me as an example.
Yeah.
If I say, hey, you know, go follow me on Instagram. Well, I get 1,000 DMs. I can't check them all. Should my salespeople be in there checking them?
You should probably have a dedicated setter in there. So someone who's a salesperson in training, who is learning how to communicate, and the volume really, really helps them.
And those guys that guy would just say, hey, I saw that you were interested in Brad's coaching.
Yeah. Well, I would pull a problem. I would NEPQ them first. I would take them through the first 2 parts of NEPQ, which is going to be connection, situation, and probably problem awareness. Right. So I'm going to connect with them. I'm going to find out what it is they're looking for, then what they're currently doing about what they're looking for. And then I'm going to pull out a problem. And if that problem matches our solution, then I'm going to put them into a sales process.
Nice. Now those have to be predetermined.
Wait, say that again.
Like to do that, you would have to know all the rest of it, meaning you know who you're looking for.
Yeah. So I have like a team that triages and sets, and then I have a team that like closes the deal. And that script is written as one script.
So like if Jeremy's on a live and he says, identify yourself somehow.
Yeah.
Are there those salespeople in there communicating as Jeremy or themselves?
But they're mainly communicating as themselves, and then Jeremy does a lot of communication himself because that's part of his role. And
because like Grant Cardone, he'll go into Clubhouse
and just tear.
He's always there.
Yeah.
Talking. Well, dude, he wouldn't be there if it wasn't generating leads.
Exactly.
So I'm just like in my head, I'm always thinking, what are people doing? Like, oh, I know what he's doing. He's DMing people, but Grant has people in his shit.
Yeah.
To where I've never done that either.
That's a good way of doing it. You just have to be able to like make sure that person's well trained and that like their communication somewhat mimics your communication.
And they know what they're trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
Like if I'm calling you, I'm trying to get you to do a LightSpeed system. And as soon as I do the NEPQ and figure out that you're not that person, well, then what do I do with you? Where do I send you? Maybe I'll send you a closer school. Maybe I'll pitch you this. Maybe I'll pitch you that. But who thinks up that whole menu of goods and services?
Me. So that's why I create a product ladder for everyone. So it's like, okay, we have, because like we might have like at 7th level, we have like a $47 downloadable, which is like, it's a copy of one of the masterclasses that we did. And then some guidelines of how to like sort of do the thing that we taught in the masterclass. It provides a lot of value. You could easily sell it for $497. Right? Like it's a fully blown masterclass, but it's like, that's a great thing for someone who just doesn't have the income right now. And then we can take them through, we can provide them with a lot of value at a great price. And all of a sudden, like, we're good guys. Like, hey man, we are helping you out for cheap. You got a lot of value out of it. And by utilizing the product, you're getting better at the thing that you want to get better at. So hopefully you make more money and then I can progress you through the product ladder.
Yeah, but you don't sell that retail to other people and give sweet deals. So it just appears to be a sweet deal.
No, it's like, I don't do fake discounting. It's just like, that's the price of it. It's in my opinion, its value would be a lot more, but we don't do it's worth $497. We're just giving it to you for $49. I just go.
Yeah, but you don't sell it for $497 to anybody.
No one. No, never.
So it's $49 no matter who you are.
No matter who you are.
Got it. So is this what would you call that? Like a lead magnet?
Yeah, it's sort of a lead magnet or just like it's an entry to our buyers.
You make them pay though, because if they don't pay, they're psychologically.
They never use it.
Huh?
They never use it if they don't pay.
Well, not only that, but psychologically, if they won't pull out a credit card for $49, what makes you think they're going to pull one out for $4,900? Exactly.
And so like, I just think like a lot of those productized stuff, they're great because they help to monetize funnels and they help to reduce, they just help to liquidate ad spend faster, right? If you can have a self-liquidating funnel, that's fantastic. If you can have a liquidating funnel that generates leads, that's the dream, because then you can just literally keep spending more money, and it liquidates itself, and then you get free sales calls.
So, dude, being in Australia with the lockdown, that didn't hurt you at all because you can do most of it on the phone.
If anything, man, COVID was pretty friendly to me. I got it. Because the internet education space has kind of exploded, and so like it was good timing. I have to be fair when I kind of launched this Sales Sniper business. Like
I started that shit 20 years ago.
What, COVID?
No. Online training.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Dude, LightSpeed was formed in 1999.
Really?
Nobody was out there.
You need to get the message out there more, man.
Nobody was doing it. There was zero.
Yeah. Well, now everyone's doing it.
Now everyone's doing it.
Yeah. So like
shit, and a lot of them are doing it bigger than me, which is like, it's time to market.
Is that having an impact on you, Brad?
No,
you've been in there longer. You've been doing it better. You've been doing it longer. You got all the infrastructure. What's happening?
Well, I've got what you call the, I think it's called Founders. I forget what it's called.
The bottleneck?
No, it's where like, like for example, take Kajabi.
Yep.
Now, Kajabi's just
I've never heard of her. But
it's a hosting solution. It's not a training system. It doesn't do repetition. There's no communities. There's no badges. There's no testing. There's no role play. Yeah. It's not a training system. It's a hosting system.
Yep.
But they just got valued at $2.2 billion. And they go after the same people I serve.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why it like gets in my crawl. It's like, shit, maybe I should just say, who gives a fuck, make a hosting solution and get $2 billion. But instead, I got this founder's mentality of, almost like a purist. Like, dude, that's not training. That's just a video.
That's good though.
I know, but like,
fuck it, be the best.
I think we can do both.
Yeah.
I think we can freaking blow that shit up equivalent because there's many of examples. They're marketing in the big way. We're not. We're word of mouth pretty much. So I'm going to talk to you further about, getting something going for LightSpeed as well. Dude, I appreciate you coming in, man. If anybody wants to follow the dude at Real Matt Ryder, go to salesrevolution.group.
If you're a sales rep,
Facebook.
Yep. If you're a sales rep, you just type in salesrevolution.group and it'll go there.
It's free info. You guys will see if you like him better.
Yeah. And if you guys are interested in ever, coming and seeing if you, want to work with Sales Sniper as a done for you agency, you go to crushsales.net and we just pretty much take it over for you.
Dude, crushsales.net's a no-brainer, especially for coaches and shit.
Exactly.
Now, I got a list of clients that I might be able to turn you on to.
Well, I'm sure we'll figure out a way to make that worth your while, bro.
Hey, and also follow at Real Jeremy Miner.
Yeah, buddy.
Because he'll drop a bunch of knowledge, but it's also he posts a lot of testimonials like yours, where it's like they were making shit, now they're making 10x shit, but it's never shit. Like they're making good money. Like we got dudes door knocking making $100,000 a month. Yeah, but like when I was in sales, dude, I was good, but frick, I was selling cars like a dipshit. I was only making like 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month in a good month.
Yeah, right.
But that's all you could. That's all you could make. I didn't know that there were high ticket things out there.
Yeah, I mean, we got dudes selling everything from cars to, one of the businesses we train is a German seatbelt manufacturing company, and we like 4x'd their sales. Just through having them take a process. One of their big things is they provide all the seatbelts for like AMG and stuff like that, like really high-end tensile fabrics. And they were just getting blown out by these cheap Chinese sort of like really, really cheap textiles. And so we just taught them how to sort of basically link all it back to the safety of their clients. And so when they were selling Mercedes and all that kind of stuff, they sort of had to make a choice between putting their client's safety first or putting their budget first.
NEPQ at 7th level communications. Folks, appreciate you listening. Share this out. There might be someone who needs it. And as always, keep it real.
Put that coffee down.